Prepare to have your ankles bitten. The space dwarves are back. So one of the big things about this book is that they introduce a mechanic called grudge token. It's basically you generate ire from them onto you. And they're kind of like marker lights without having to have a chance to miss with the marker light. And they're better than marker lights, just in general. The first grudge token you get, besides being able to activate other abilities and powers based on the league you're in, the first level is that a hit roll of a 6 causes you to auto wound, and it causes you an auto wound of 6, which is important because there's a lot of weapons that activate on auto wound of 6s. The next grudge token you get is you now auto hit and auto wound on a 5. The one after that is on a 4, and they still count as a 6 for your wound. That's the other crazy important thing on there. So basically you start having these abilities that we know is a little bit broken from AdMech, causing auto wounds on 4-ups to hit, and now the whole army gets it. And you think that that would be amazing. That's an amazing set of rules, especially for a shooty army to have it. No, they've got other stuff too. Beyond anything else with the leagues, which have another stack of rules on there, they also all are wearing void hardened armor. We all kind of remember void hardened armor, think through some of the other games that allows you to be outside in space. And you've got to be in the void of space so you don't get hurt on it. But I guess it also lets you have -1 AP to damage being done to you. And you can't reroll hits, wounds against them, and you can't reroll damage against them. Everyone gets it because they're super sealed, and they put like an extra, they do that flex seal, everyone gets sprayed with it.
That's a lot of damage!
And those are the base level this army gets, beyond all the crazy super high-tech weapons, because they have crazy high-tech weapons like the Tau did. They sold stuff to the Tau. They have all this old STC stuff before that all was working for them because they listened to the AI machines that are their gods or ancestors or anything else. So, this is a super, super, super crazy high-tech army with crazy guns that do massive damage. You have beams, you have these hunter abilities, which is like a heavy weapon, but not a heavy weapon that doesn't fire like a heavy weapon. It's called a hunter weapon, but they decided to not give you an E because, who needs E's in the future because E's cost too much money. This book is just full of stuff of all the things that happen in 40K, and they decided to put pieces of it into one and then give it other rules on top of it. So the best character in this book as a tie, you have the special character that gives out grudge tokens, allows you to make a roll an auto 6, and as you figure out later in the book, getting an auto hit of 6 is pretty good, especially with the grudge tokens, and does chapter master stuff and everything else on there on top of that. Or is it the wild and wacky space van? Or as people have seen online, when it's colored up like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, it's a pizza wagon. That thing is pretty busted and pretty nuts that it is better than a Land Raider, shoots more than a Land Raider, tougher than a Land Raider, holds more than a Land Raider, has other rules that make it better than a Land Raider, and is cheaper than a Land Raider. So you take all of that stuff up, and it is greater than a Land Raider on there, and it's going to be probably one of the more important things in this book. And I would say I was going to point to that one because one, it's not going to come out for a little bit, so maybe we'll have a reprieve from it wrecking us for a while. And two, it is something they obviously push to the limits because they want you to buy a big, huge plastic tank of death. I think the tank is the better one, will be overall, but the main character is going to be in every. Both things are going to be in every army you see. I mean, really, there's a lot of combos in the book. I mean, you saw a little bit of how the grudge tokens work. As you start stacking them onto a unit, you can start causing auto hits on 6, 5, and 4, depending on how many grudge tokens you get. And grudge tokens are given to things for stuff that you do as part of the game. You get one if you kill the Leagues of Votann unit, you get one. That unit gets one on there because they're mad at you for killing their friends. Makes sense. You get another because some of the characters and everything else can give it to you because they see you and they're mad at you for wearing your white shoes after Labor Day. And the second way, the one that I think is the biggest problem in this book, is that if you do any kind of action or psychic action, you get one on there too. So doing stuff that you want to do in the game puts a token that gets on you that makes you easier to do damage to. And there's a whole pile of stuff in here that activates off those grudge tokens. Just like, I think with the Magna Rail and some of the beams, if it hits, you roll a 6, it causes an auto wound. It makes the wound of a 6 as a hit on it. And then that extra damage you have on there still goes to the whole entire unit. So now this super laser beam of death is hitting a unit, causing a stack of wounds through everything else, and then you can stack a stratagem on top of it to cause mortal wounds to those things you hit with your beam. So, I mean, this book is like if you had Tau shoot the way Tau shoots, adding some psychic powers, removing some speed, and giving it an assault punch. That's what this feels like. And it's even easier than it should be. I mean, heck, Tau putting marker lights on you will get grudge tokens on them too, and you just start stacking it up. Hey, you need to go put a banner down? Get you a grudge token. You trying to do some R&D? Get you a grudge token. You want to bring someone a coffee because you're thirsty? Get you a grudge token. It just doesn't matter. You're going to get grudge tokens all over you because they're mad as crap, and they're short and they're slow, but it doesn't really matter because they're just going to shoot you off the table. So what I think from the meta on this army is that it's going to be very similar to how the Tau can be. Very open boards are going to be very oppressive on the army because this is going to shoot you across as you try to get across the table and hide stuff on there. But they're also slow. Yes, they have some fast bikers, but those bikers aren't particularly murderous as some of the other pieces that I feel a lot better in the book, like the land carriage thing or the land fortress thing, and some of the other little miniature characters that walk around the table. They're going to be slow. I think there's going to be a lot of chance that someone, as a player against them, is that you're going to try to force them to stay in their zone. They don't have any flyers. The fastest thing is the bikes. At the same time, too, thankfully, they don't have a whole lot of auto amazing secondaries, which means that armies that do have amazing secondaries like Necrons are probably going to bully them in the table. Necrons are pretty fast. They can hit that middle table and basically say, you've got to deal with me, and are slightly tough, so it's going to take a while for them to chew through them. Sure, some of the magnets, some of the rails, and some of the damage will put damage throughout the whole unit, maybe kill the whole unit because you can't take invulnerable saves, you can't take anything else against them. But I think you just basically push for the primary, push to score your points, and push your secondary. The army, again, is slow. Like, they don't have a flyer, they don't have anything else. You can toot your train land courage across the table like a crazy person, but that just means that someone can kill it, because while it is tough, you can probably focus a lot of fire if it doesn't have its backup and doesn't have its friends around to make sure it heals and everything else on there. From a player standpoint, you know, we're going to probably see, if they become popular, you'll see players get frustrated that, like, well, I should be shooting you off the table. But with the correct placement and hiding around terrain and making sure you don't get the extra grudge tokens and everything else on there, it's going to be a lot harder. The beam weapons aren't no line of sight. They have to be able to hit you. So if you're hidden behind something, the beam that might hit you and beam through you isn't going to get you. There's very few things, like there's one relic that gets no lookout search, so those will probably be popping off characters if you have to worry about it. I expect, you know, you just have to go super aggressive, super get in there, and while yes, it might be a weird trade, you're just going to keep them in their zone as you hold your objectives. Is it going to crush the meta? It's going to be a very weird gatekeeping army that's going to hurt very specific players. Like, I feel bad for some of the staticer armies or armies that are staying back there. I mean, Knights will have a problem because they get shot. Funnily enough, Demons not having an invulnerable save but having their other save might be really interesting. So I expect some armies just to try to get much more aggressive and get much more pushing into them and see what goes on from there. Do I think it's end of the world dire that everything's going to be bad? No, because we already have armies that shoot a lot on the table already. You just have to play differently or play those missions or play something else. I'm hoping that maybe some of the points get tweaked a little bit because I feel they're a little bit aggressively costed when you compare them to something like Demons that I felt was over costed on a lot of things. Or, you know, Eldar feels a little overcosted and some of the other stuff does. So we'll see. I'm pretty happy that it looks like, you know, from the standpoint of what they're going to release a whole kind of army. I also like the fact that it's a lot easier of an army to play. There's a lot of rules, but the interactions don't seem particularly hard for a new player to pick up. Like, everyone knows the idea of shooting everything else. Plus, again, it has shooting elements, and it has assault elements, and it has psychic elements. So it's able to do all the things in the game, which is neat. And I love the fluff. The fluff is pretty hilarious. The fact that they have all these crazy old AI that works and everything else on there. So, I mean, overall, I think it's a neat release. I will tell you as I get my butt kicked in events by them if I really, really get mad at them. I think the rules are a little bit crazy, but again, you know, we'll have to wait and see because there's some pieces missing that would make it way, way oppressive that are not necessarily there. But, you know, Space Wars are here. Get on the choo-choo-choo land wagon as it's in there running around across the table. And prepare to see probably a lot of bad prints. This is GoBoy from Bowls. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, click subscribe. Put a comment on here, anything else on there. But if you want to see some other stuff about the Leagues of Votann, click over here. There's an unboxing video and some of the model shots if you want to check it out. Thanks again.